Right, let's get into this. We're looking at a pile of sources today that really zeroes in on this one reporter, Henry Parker from the New York Gazette.
Right, and it's this incredibly sudden, incredibly brutal collision of his professional life and, well, a family history he didn't even know he had.
Exactly. The story kicks off with him investigating a murder, which then just rips the lid off 30 years of these really toxic family secrets.
It's fascinating because the sources show our protagonist, Henry, having to deal with two uh, just impossible things at once. First, the idea that his abusive father might actually be a murderer.
And second, that the murder victim, who he initially just writes off as some junkie,
Yeah.
was his own half-brother.
A brother he never knew existed. I mean,
Mhm.
the psychological whiplash of that is just staggering.
So our mission for you in this deep dive is to, give you the full shortcut to understanding all the layers here. We're going to break down what really drives Henry Parker.
And we also have to get into the structure of this drug ring. It's called 718 Enterprises. And well, it's terrifyingly modern. It's not what you'd expect.
Right. And then there's the cold case, a murder from 1988, marked by this really cryptic phrase, the Fury. And we're going to show you how it links directly to this brutal execution happening today in Manhattan.
Yeah, this deep dive really makes you look past the simple crime story. It forces you to analyze how desperation, both financial and psychological, can be weaponized.
It's a powerful tool for these sophisticated criminal groups.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with the man himself, Henry Parker. He's working out of the 12th floor of the New York Gazette offices. It's this prime spot overlooking Rockefeller Center.
But the sources make it clear that even though he's still pretty young, he has this reputation not just for being a good reporter, but for attracting chaos.
He really does. The material we have says he's almost drawn to crises. It's like he needs these massive external problems to deal with.
Well, yeah. The sources summarize his short time there as being wanted for murder and targeted by a deranged serial killer. So, not a quiet desk job.
Not at all. And it really feels like it's a way for him to avoid dealing with the internal damage from his childhood. He channels all that personal chaos into his work.
It's his fuel.
So let's set that professional scene a little more. The mood on the 12th floor of the Gazette it's anxious. It's heavy.
Right. This is a legendary paper, but prestige doesn't pay the bills in the modern media world, does it?
No. And everyone is just watching for what they call the sickle to be lowered. They're all expecting this just devastating round of layoffs.
It's this palpable fear, and it's making management make some questionable decisions.
Yeah.
Decisions that guys like Henry, the old guard, really hate.
Which brings us to Tony Valentine.
Ugh, Tony Valentine. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the manifestation of all that desperation for pizzazz, as the sources put it.
He's this slick gossip reporter they've poached from Us Weekly, of all places, and his whole job is to inject sexiness into the paper.
And the description of him is it's perfect. He's 6'3", bleached blonde hair, teeth so white they practically glow.
And the suit. The designer suit, the pocket square, the gold cufflinks, all monogrammed with TV.
It's so over the top.
It really is. And Henry just immediately despises him. It's not just that he's a rival for front page space. It's like a clash of civilizations.
It's a total conflict of journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
Valentine is everything Henry thinks is destroying real reporting. It's all flash, no substance.
And his column, Valentine's Day, is now the direct competitor to Henry's deep investigative work. It's symbolic of the whole paper struggle.
Right. But despite all this, Henry has his editor, Evelyn Waterstone, who kind of keeps him grounded.
She's a fascinating character. The sources describe her as a short, squat woman with a haircut like a well-manicured putting green.
Which is such a great image. But professionally, she's a disciplinarian in the gentlest sense.
Yeah, she manages him. She puts up with all his chaos because, at the end of the day, she respects the work. She knows he delivers.
It's a purely professional relationship. There's no warmth there. Yeah. But there's this necessary reliance on each other.
And that reliance is even stronger because Henry's mentor, his idol, Jack O'Donnell, is gone.
Yeah, O'Donnell, this journalistic giant, he finally lost his battle with alcoholism and had to leave the paper. And that leaves this huge hole in Henry's support system.
A huge hole. So it's against this backdrop, the professional anxiety, the loss of his mentor, that Henry's personal world just implodes.
It happens so fast. He's leaving the Gazette one night, totally drained, and he gets approached on the street.
By this man, Stephen Gaines. And he's described as dirty and disheveled, just wearing rags.
But he's carrying a briefcase, a black, professional-looking briefcase, which is such a strange detail.
It is. And the guy is frantic. He's pleading with Henry, saying, you don't know what's going on, never seen anything like it.
This is such a pivotal moment. This man is desperately trying to give him information, but it was something incredibly dangerous.
But Henry, he's a hardened New Yorker. His shields are up.
His prejudice kicks in immediately.
He thinks about turning back, maybe giving him $1, but then he sees it.
The final nail in the coffin for his judgment.
Gaines reaches into his pocket, snorts something really fast, and that's it. Henry's mind is made up.
He's a junkie. That's the label. And Henry just speeds up and walks away, trying to forget the whole thing.
A decision that is going to haunt him. Because just a few hours later, he's home and his phone rings.
It's Detective McCoulian, NYPD.
Right. And he wants an urgent meeting at the medical examiner's office about a murder. And Henry's reaction is just dismissive. He's reluctant to get involved in the death of, and I quote, some junkie.
He uses the same word, the same judgment.
And that's when McCoulian just cuts through all of it.
With 5 words that just completely shatter Henry's reality.
Stephen Gaines was your brother.
Ugh. The sources say he was given no time to prepare, no time to soften the blow, just boom.
And this changes everything. It's not just a plot twist. It's the thing that ties Henry's 30 years of hidden family trauma directly to his current work.
And we get the details. Stephen Gaines was 30 years old, 4 years older than Henry, found shot to death in an Alphabet City apartment near Tompkins Square Park.
An entire life lived in the same city, completely unknown to him.
All because of a secret kept by his father.
The investigation starts right there, in the ME's office in Kips Bay. Henry describes it as this grim stone building, a place that resists modernization.
He goes down to the M level, the morgue. And it's just steeped in that smell of formaldehyde.
Yeah, that antiseptic, sickening smell. And the ME, Leon Binks, along with McCoulian, they lay out the facts.
And the facts point to an execution. Not a robbery gone wrong, not a random act, a professional hit.
Gaines was shot twice, at almost point-blank range. The first shot was to the back of the head.
Which means it was an ambush, or he was taken by surprise.
And the second shot was administered while he was on the ground, dying, just to finish the job.
It's so chillingly detached. No emotion involved at all.
And the forensics on that first shot are so important. The bullet entered below the right parietal bone and exited the forehead with a slightly upward trajectory.
Which immediately gives them a profile of the killer.
Right. Exactly. The killer was right-handed and slightly taller than Stephen. It's the first real physical piece of evidence Henry has to go on.
But just as important is the weapon itself. It was silenced.
But not with, like, a high-end store-bought silencer.
No. Binks figures out it was improvised. He suggests something like a potato, a pillow, aluminum tubing, filled with steel wool.
Which is such a fascinating detail. What does that tell you?
It tells you 2 things. 1, the killer wanted silence. It was a planned, deliberate execution. But 2, they didn't have access to professional military-grade gear.
So professional intent, but using.
Rudimentary means it suggests someone inside an organization, but maybe not at the very top. A contractor, maybe.
But McCoulian isn't thinking that way. Not yet. He sees the apartment full of pipes and needles, and he immediately defaults to the simplest theory.
Typical junkie murder. A deal gone bad, a stolen stash, a turf war.
But Henry can't accept that. Not now. This isn't just some junkie. This was his brother. And he knows there has to be something more to it. Something organized.
The shock is already starting to curdle into something else for him.
Anger. Pure, corrosive anger. How could his whole life be based on such a massive lie?
Yeah, and he immediately thinks of the contrast between Amanda, his girlfriend, who's so supportive and works for the Legal Aid Society, and the source of all this trauma.
His father, James Parker.
That anger becomes his engine. It's the most powerful fuel he has. He has to get answers, and there's only one person who has them.
So he and Amanda are on a plane almost immediately. They fly to Portland and then start that long drive to Bend, Oregon, back to the house where his parents have lived for almost 30 years.
And the sources do a great job of describing that house. The paint is faded, showing this total apathy, but his old Chevy truck, it still purrs like a kitten.
It's a perfect detail, isn't it? James Parker is a man who maintains meticulous, violent control over the few things he values.
And that control is exactly what he inflicted on his family.
The confrontation is just as brutal as you'd expect. James Parker is 55, and he's everything Henry remembers. Mean, belittling, nasty, vicious, violent.
When Henry asks about Stephen, James doesn't even flinch. He just confirms it. an affair with a woman named Helen Gaines years ago, before Henry was even born.
But he dismisses it with this absolute coldness. He says Helen was told not to keep the baby. He never considered himself Stephen's father.
He says she just disappeared forever after the birth. It's a complete abdication of any responsibility. It's monstrous.
It just confirms everything Henry already believes about his father's character.
But then something happens that just complicates everything. It throws a wrench in Henry's very clear-cut rage.
Right in the middle of the screaming match, the Bend Police Department shows up.
Captain Whalen and his officers, they walk right in with a warrant.
And they arrest James Parker for murder in the first degree, a warrant issued by the NYPD.
This is the moment where Henry's world just tilts on its axis again. The police have physical evidence linking his father, who lives in the middle of Oregon, to a murder weapon in New York City.
It seems almost impossible. It sounds too convenient, doesn't it? Like the police found the easiest suspect and are just shutting the case down.
That's exactly what Henry and Amanda think. A setup. But the warrant is real. And this is where Amanda's legal mind just kicks into high gear.
She tells James he has to sign a non-judicial waiver of expedition.
Which sounds complicated, but it's basically a strategic move, right?
It's damage control. She explains that if he fights extradition in Oregon, he could be stuck in a Bend jail cell for months while the lawyers argue.
Terrified and alone.
Exactly. By signing the waiver, he agrees to go back to New York immediately. It gets the whole case back onto their home turf, where Henry can investigate and Amanda can build a proper defense.
And James, who is terrified of the local jail, he reluctantly agrees.
And facing that reality, he finally confesses. Or, well, he tells his side of the story.
Right. He admits Helen Gaines called him. After 30 years, out of the blue, she needed money for Stephen, who is in deep trouble.
And she used the threat of exposure of child support to blackmail James into flying to New York.
So James describes this confrontation at Helen's apartment, which he says was just this disgusting, rat-infested place.
Yeah.
And he claims she pulled a gun on him.
He says they struggled, and he grabbed the gun by the barrel to get it away from her.
Which is his explanation for how his fingerprints got on the murder weapon.
And this gives McCoulian a perfect, neat little case.
Oh, it's gift-wrapped. He has fingerprints on the weapon, he has receipts to the plane ticket to New York, and he has a clear motive. James was being blackmailed, and he snapped.
So Henry is just trapped. He hates his father. He 100% believes his father is capable of murder.
But the story is just plausible enough to create doubt. What if he was set up? What if it really was just a struggle?
He has to choose. Believe the cops, who have an easy answer, or believe the man he detests, knowing that if he's wrong, he's helping a murderer go free.
And if he's right, he has to save a man he wishes was never in his life to begin with.
While James is being processed at the station, Henry has this heartbreaking encounter with his mother, Eve.
And this scene just shows the true collateral damage of James's abuse. She's completely checked out. She's withdrawn, confused.
Shell-shocked. Decades of submission have just worn her down to nothing. She can't even process the arrest. She asks if James will be home for dinner.
It's devastating. And the source gives us that detail about her knitting, how she would just lose herself in stitches and patterns whenever James went on a rampage.
It was her escape, her psychological hiding place.
And even now, when Henry tries to explain what's happening, the murder charge, the secret half-brother, she just can't take it in. She stays in this sweet, sad state of denial.
Her final line in that scene is, if anyone says he did something wrong, they just don't know James.
And that's when Henry has this realization, I think. He realizes he inherited his father's anger, that intensity, but he has to use it for something good.
For justice. It's the only way to prove he's not his father. The investigation becomes personal. It's a quest to escape his own toxic legacy.
So James is in a cell, waiting to be sent back to New York. The NYPD thinks they have their man, and Henry has to start his own investigation from scratch.
He has two goals, right? Find the evidence to exonerate his father, who he can't stand.
And more importantly, find out who really killed his brother, Stephen.
So he goes back to New York and starts where the police left off. Tompkins Square Park, the apartment building.
And he hits a brick wall, just like McCoulian said he would. Stephen Gaines was a ghost. Nobody saw anything. Nobody's talking. It looks like a dead end.
So he knows he needs to find someone from Stephen's world, an inside source, which leads him to Rose Keller.
Rose is a graphic designer. She's been clean for a year, but she was with Stephen for 7 years. She knew him better than anyone.
And she gives the story some much-needed nuance. She confirmed Stephen's addiction was bad. It was spiraling like cancer. He talked about quitting, but she knew he never really did.
So that part of the police theory checks out. The drugs were real.
But then she talks about the other side of him, the side that wanted to be a writer, to do culture reporting, the side that was more like Henry.
And she talks about his job, a job she couldn't figure out. It paid well, but it was completely opaque, secretive.
Which confirms Henry's gut feeling. Stephen wasn't just a user, he was involved in something much bigger.
And then Rose drops the first real actionable lead.
The cabin.
The cabin in the Adirondacks near Blue Mountain Lake. It belonged to Stephen's mother, Helen.
Henry latches onto that immediately. It's a potential hiding place. Helen Gaines is the only person who can confirm his father's story of the gun.
He has to find her.
But before he can go anywhere, he visits his father one more time, and James gives him the key.
The notes. The little scraps Helen had on a notepad in her apartment.
Europe, Mexico, $50,000, and then one word, all caps, underlined with a question mark.
If you are way.
And that's the word that unlocks the entire conspiracy.
It connects everything. The 50 grand, Europe, Mexico. It sounds like escape money, right? Not rehab money.
Exactly. This wasn't a cry for help, it was a getaway plan. But F-U-R. That word rings a bell for Henry.
A very specific bell. It connects back to Jack O'Donnell, his mentor.
He remembers O'Donnell's old, obscure book, Through the Darkness. And the book was all about the 1988 murder of a street dealer named Butch Willingham.
And the details are just chillingly similar. Willingham was also killed with a silenced weapon. And before he died, he used his own blood to scrawl 2 words on the wall.
The Fury.
It's the exact same moniker. 2 executions, 20 years apart, same MO, same calling card.
Henry goes to his editor, Wallace Langston, to confirm it, and Langston tells him the story. O'Donnell didn't think the Fury was one person.
No, he thought it was something bigger. A mythical demon or an entity within the drug world, a criminal structure that just regenerates, it replaces its fallen members and keeps going.
His publisher at the time thought it sounded too much like a conspiracy theory and made him cut it from the book.
But O'Donnell is right. And Henry now realizes he's not just looking for a killer. He's up against a criminal organization that's been operating for decades.
The danger level just went through the roof. He knows he can't just ask questions anymore. He needs proof.
He needs to get inside, which leads him to do something desperate.
He starts watching the drug couriers, and he spots one, Hector Guardado. And just like Stephen, Guardado doesn't look like a typical dealer. He's well-dressed, carrying a monogrammed briefcase.
It's that corporate look again.
Henry makes a split-second decision. He runs up, snatches the briefcase, and just sprints away, whispering to himself, "I'm going to hell."
He knows he's crossing a line, but he has no other choice.
And what's inside that briefcase confirms everything.
There's about $15,000 in cash, for one, which shows the scale of the daily business.
And a whole menu of drugs. Weed, cocaine, crack rocks. This isn't a single product operation. They cater to a diverse, high-end clientele.
But the most important thing in there is the cell phone.
He checks the call log, and he finds it. A call from Guardado's phone to Stephen Gaines on the night he died.
It only lasted 8 seconds.
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
A quick warning, a drop-off confirmation, a butt dial. But it doesn't matter. It's a direct digital link between the victim and the organization.
So now Henry starts staking them out. He follows 2 other couriers, Scotty Callahan and Kyle Evans, and they fit the same profile.
Suits, briefcases, professional demeanor, and their meetup spot is the key.
It's not some dark alley. It's an office building in Midtown Manhattan, 58th and 6th Avenue, the heart of corporate America.
He tries to get in but gets turned away, but he just watches from the street and he sees this steady stream of young, well-dressed men coming and going, all with briefcases.
And they're saying things like, "Rake it in, boys, and see you at the meeting."
It's not a gang, it's a sales team.
The full, terrifying picture comes into focus when Henry finally corners one of them, Scotty Callahan, and basically forces him to talk.
And Scotty is the poster child for this new kind of criminal.
He's a Wharton MBA.
A Wharton MBA graduate. He used to work at Deutsche Bank, got laid off after the subprime mortgage crisis, and was suddenly saddled with over $100,000 in student debt.
He had to move back in with his parents. Utter humiliation and financial desperation.
And Scotty just lays it all out. He says the operation is run like a business. They use spreadsheets. They have revenue targets.
The couriers are all guys like him, former white-collar professionals who the legitimate economy failed. Kyle Evans, the other guy, was dealing to pay for his mother's cancer treatments.
718 enterprises. Its entire business model is built on recruiting these desperate, educated, disciplined people and weaponizing their skills.
And then Scotty delivers the final devastating piece of the puzzle. He tells Henry who recruited him, who brought him into this world.
The head honcho, the grand poobah of the game, as he calls him.
It was Stephen Gaines.
Henry's brother wasn't just a user caught in the crossfire. He was a high-level manager for 718 enterprises. A recruiter.
He was a vital part of the machine.
So Henry now understands the structure. He knows his brother's role. He just needs to find the one person who can connect it all back to his father's case.
Helen Gaines. So he and Amanda follow that last lead, the cabin, and they track her down. She's hiding out in an apartment in New York City.
And she's not alone. She's being protected by a man named Clarence Savoy.
A successful graphic designer. But Henry quickly realizes who he really is.
He's Butch Willingham's son.
The victim from the 1988 Fury murder.
It all comes full circle. The past and the present aren't just similar. They're directly linked by family, by loyalty. This is the same organization.
And Helen confirms everything. She says Stephen had been selling for nearly 10 years, made a lot of money, but the addiction and the fear just got worse and worse.
She tells Henry that Stephen was terrified near the end. He kept saying, we need to leave. We need to get far, far away from this city.
The $50,000 he wanted from James. It wasn't for rehab. It was for an escape to Europe or Mexico, to disappear.
And Helen gives him the motive for the murder. Stephen was killed because they thought he knew something he wasn't supposed to.
He was trying to get out. He had become a liability, a loose end that 718 enterprises needed to tie up permanently.
And Clarence, Butch's son, he fills in the rest of the history. He says Helen was his father's lover, and after Butch was killed, she became like a mother to him while he was in foster care.
He even provides this macabre physical link to the past. He says he kept a fragment from his father's crime scene, a piece of bone or metal.
And he gave it to Helen, who carried it with her like a morbid good luck charm.
So Henry has it all now. He takes this mountain of evidence, 718 enterprises, the Fury connection, the motive, and he goes back to Detective McCoulian.
And McCoulian just shuts him down completely.
Stubbornly. He says Henry is reading too much James Bond into a simple murder. He insists that James Parker is the killer. The fingerprints, the blackmail motive. It's an open and shut case.
And his resistance is so total, it's unsettling. You're left wondering why he won't even consider it.
Until the epilogue in the source material gives us the answer.
We see McCoulian meeting with a woman. She's clearly the one in charge.
And across her right shoulder is a tattoo. 3 numbers.
7.1.8.
She's the leader of the enterprise. And McCoulian is on her payroll. He's not trying to solve the case. He's actively protecting the network.
Wow. So with the police compromised, Henry realizes he has to solve this from the inside. The murder had to be an internal power struggle.
Exactly. He goes back to Scotty Callahan, who is now completely terrified by all the violence. And Scotty admits that the other courier, Kyle Evans, was deeply afraid of Stephen.
It suggests the couriers weren't a team. They were competitors, all vying for Stephen's lucrative position as recruiter.
And when Stephen decided to quit, to flee, he didn't just become a liability to the organization. He became an obstacle for the ambitious, desperate men beneath him.
The climax is sudden and violent. Henry gets attacked outside his own apartment by a man with a switchblade.
Who reacts on instinct, throws a cup of hot coffee in the guy's face, and manages to subdue him.
The attacker is Kyle Evans, the white-collar courier who needed money for his mom's cancer treatment.
He's the killer. He fits the profile right-handed, taller than Stephen. And he had the motive. Eliminate the boss to take his place and keep the whole desperate enterprise from collapsing.
Henry later finds Evans meeting with Scotty again. He thinks Scotty is the killer and tackles him.
And that's when McCoulian shows up.
And in one clean, decisive move, McCoulian shoots and kills Kyle Evans.
He claims later that Evans posed a threat. But Henry knows better.
Was it really about neutralizing a threat? Or was it about silencing the one person who could expose the entire 718 network and McCoulian's role in it?
The sources make it pretty clear. McCoulian had to eliminate the link. He closes the case for the NYPD while keeping the real organization completely safe.
So the immediate aftermath feels like a victory, but it's a hollow one.
It is. James Parker is released from prison. Helen agrees to testify about the struggle over the gun, which explains his fingerprints.
And she enters a state-funded rehab program with Clarence's support.
But look at the body count. Stephen, Hector Guardado, Kyle Evans, and 5 other associates mentioned, all dead.
And the machine that killed them is still running. 718 Enterprises, its tattooed leader, and its protector inside the NYPD are all still out there, untouched.
But the story doesn't end on a note of despair for Henry. It ends with a new mission.
Right. His idol, Jack O'Donnell, is now sober and rejoining the Gazette, and they agree to team up.
They both recognize this is just history repeating itself. It's the Fury conspiracy, just in a new corporate form.
And their joint mission is now to find out what 718 Enterprises really is and who is truly pulling the strings.
So if we just, synthesize all of this, the single most important takeaway from this deep dive has to be the chilling modernity of this drug ring.
Absolutely. This just forces you to completely redefine what you think organized crime looks like today.
It's not about street gangs fighting over turf anymore. This is a sophisticated corporate machine. And its employees are Wharton MBAs, former bankers.
People who are highly educated, deeply in debt, and desperate. They're structuring their drug dealing like it's an investment portfolio.
And all the trappings, the suits, the briefcases, the Midtown office, that's all camouflage. It's necessary so they can move product and serve their high-end clients in white-collar spaces without anyone batting an eye.
They've turned financial desperation into a scalable HR strategy.
And that's the knowledge nugget that's so unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah.
The connection between that 20-year-old cold case and today. The Fury wasn't a person. It was an entity.
A highly adaptable criminal business model.
Exactly. It just evolved its recruitment methods. It stopped using street dealers like Butch Willingham and started targeting the new victims of economic collapse.
Guys like Stephen Gaines and Kyle Evans, the Fury wasn't some mythical demon. It was just a cold, cruel, and highly functional business that learned how to profit from the failures of the legitimate economy.
And you really see how this entire journey has reshaped Henry Parker. He took this incredible trauma finding a brother, only to losing, confirming his father as a monster, and he used it.
He used it as fuel. He channeled all of that inherited anger into solving the case. It was his way of proving he could be a good man, the one thing his father never was.
His journalism became his path to salvation, really. A way to escape his own family's toxic legacy.
It's a pretty terrifying commentary on just how resilient these criminal networks are and how fragile a legitimate career can be.
The moment the system fails these educated professionals who have massive debt, there's this other, darker system just waiting to absorb them and weaponize their skills.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to mull over, one that builds on Henry and Jack's new mission.
Despite all the death and chaos, 718 Enterprises is still active. It's powerful, and it's protected by people in positions of authority.
And if the entire structure of this multi-million-dollar corporate crime ring was built by exploiting the financial desperation that came out of the subprime crisis,
What current economic sector happening right now is generating the kind of crippling debt and hopelessness that could be fueling the recruitment for the Fury's next generation of desperate businessmen.
something to think about until our next deep dive.